well, for me, the beauty of this temple, maybe Srila Prabhupada's ISKCON as a whole, especially this temple or Western temples, you can do so much deity worship. You can be the person that irons Krishna's handkerchiefs. You can make garlands. You can make his baby. You can set up the bathing trays. You can chop vegetables for his breakfast, lunch, dinner, night meal, as it were, before he goes to bed. You can dress him. You can look after his jewelry. You can look after the little paint pots for Giriraj. You know, I mean, there's so much you can do. Everyone can get connected with the deities, regardless of you're initiated, first, second, or not. So that's amazing. That's the beauty of the deities, basically.
I do garlands and cooking, maybe the same amount of both. So, yeah, 2 main services, garlands and cooking. Sometimes I do arti. I've been coming to the temple for since 2005, and I've been cooking for the last maybe 4 years since I got my second initiation, and making garlands for maybe 10 years. Yeah.
Fantastic. I came the underground, sometime bus. I come here the morning and evening. 2010 I start. I did the washing, iron, and also tulsi arati, tulsi garland, and the ghee wicks, put the ghee, and whatever anybody says something, I help also. I like help.
Well, I began my deity service in 1996. Before that time I was distributing books. In 1996 I became a full-time Pujari, and at that time there was, say, 4 or 5 devotees living in a temple and more or less taking care of all the worship. It means all the dressing, all the cooking and all the artis, etc. And perhaps we had 1 or 2, perhaps mainly 3 perhaps, devotees from the congregation coming in to do some service in the Pujari department. And it was a bit of a strain. Of course, it's always enlivening to engage in devotional service and deity worship, but with just 5 or 6 devotees, it was often difficult. For instance, if one of those devotees would become sick, then it put more strain on the others, and of course some devotees would go away sometimes, so it was always kind of a strain, you know.
Oh yes, yeah. When I first came here, it was all temple devotees doing everything, and no one from outside really did much temple service. And now everything's been arranged by the congregation. You know, there's festivals going on. There's like special festivals, the 50th anniversary. So many things, patrons' dinners, like Mahasangas. We go, you know, we're going to France this year on a mentorship retreat, and it's all organized by congregation. Yeah, so the temple devotees have quite an easy life now.
But now the residents are predominantly, they do dressing and waking of the deities, things that have to be done very early in the morning. We don't really have any resident full-time pujaris living in the ashram anymore, which in my opinion is great source of inspiration, because it means that we're keeping Krishna in the center, and everyone understands that it's all of our responsibility to look after Radha Krishna and Jagannath, Baladev and Subhadra, Shishigor, Nitai and Giri Govardhan. We also instituted some years back that within our community, if you're part of ISKCON London and you want to take second initiation, then the only way that happens is if you agree for your name to go on the Pujari schedule. And that means that having a Brahmin thread and taking second initiation means that you worship the deities. And specifically, if you're growing up here, if you're born here in ISKCON London and Soho Street Dham, as many people call it, then it means that if you take second initiation, you have to agree to take some responsibility for looking after their lordships. And I think that's made a big difference. Before that, we made a big push that anyone who's Brahmin initiated should be on the schedule. And that's how we started to increase the numbers of devotees who were involved. And I would say pretty much at least 85% of the people, devotees in the community who have second initiation, they do something to help out. Even if their name just goes on the schedule once a week for an offering or an arti or cooking or dressing, but everyone is doing something. And the Lord is so kind that He gives us unlimited service. So even if we had 100 names on there, there would still be so much more that devotees could be active in doing.
What happened over the years, there was like a complete transformation from, rather than just 4 or 5 devotees engaging in worship, now in 1 week we have 90, sometimes 100 different devotees coming in for worship, which creates a wonderful atmosphere, because there's 90 or 100 devotees from the congregation doing direct worship to the Lord. So they started to become engaged in helping out festivals and gradually managing the festivals and taking care of all aspects of the festivals. And at the same time as this as well, we introduced a mentorship system a good few years back, where we was looking towards to try and feel responsible for the spiritual lives of the congregation. Not just as a place where they just come and they go, but we made an arrangement of the mentorship system where we was proactively looking at the spiritual care of the congregation. And then naturally, from that, the congregation then started to get more involved in the deity worship. Now with the deity worship, which begins from very early in the morning and carries right throughout the whole day till night time, then there's many different types of service they can do, taking different amounts of time.
From the time that I took second initiation, which was around 2003, immediately I went on the Pujari schedule, offering Mangalarti and dressing the deities on a Tuesday. And to this day, 15 years later, I've more or less continued to be on the schedule doing that specific service more or less every day if I'm here or not sick or whatever, for 15 years. So not that that's like to my credit, but the point is that if we just have a small thing that everybody takes responsibility for, you can do it for a long time. Whereas if the pressure is too intense, you have to do something every day, then it may become too much. As soon as my wife and I began to associate, we started cooking for the deities together, and we started doing service together. So now we share the Tuesday slot, and we wake up the deities, we offer them their bhoga, and we offer Mangalarti, then we dress the deities. Then my wife will go home and she'll continue, we do the wigs and we wash the petticoat, and so she'll continue with that service.
Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava Pahimam, Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava Rashama, Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava Pahimam.
I make garlands for the deities and oversee the flowers during the festivals and the decor as well.
I make garlands for the deities once a week. Been doing this service for about 8 months now. I normally come to the temple straight after work, and I find the temple very accessible in terms of public transport, so wherever I am I can easily get here.
Here we have something that's very readily accessible, and it means that you can take some time out of your busy working week to be able to come and just focus on Krishna, do some direct service, and whatever you do here, even if it's for an hour or 2 a week, it'll take you through your whole week.
When I'm not coming, I'm not feel something. When I'm doing the service, I'm so happy inside. When I come the Pujari room out, and I feel very nice.
What makes the service special for me is that I really like the mood in Radha Krishna Temple. I like seeing devotees, the association with them, and what's really special is the following day, having darshan of the deities wearing the garlands that we've made.
Well, it's actually Krishna arranges everything. So I just apply the philosophy, simple living, high thinking, put Krishna in the center, and make Krishna your priority, and everything else seems to fall into place. Basically, that's how I do it.
Well, I feel very happy when I'm doing service. Yeah, I've always been attracted to Lord Jagannath, yeah, since, beginning days. Yeah, Lord Jagannath. Well, all the deities are very merciful, but for me it's Lord Jagannath, yeah.
And so, in this way, the service has changed from just 4 or 5 devotees. Well, now the congregation is engaged in more or less every aspect of the Pujari service, and there's only, say, 1 or 2 of us who are here as full-time.
For anyone who's developing or building their community or has responsibility for a temple, I would say the key and most important thing is that we have to let people in the community know that they can be engaged in service. You'd be surprised how many people think that oh, I wouldn't be allowed to do that. They kind of they shut themselves off. They just don't even know. And once you offer it or you let people know, they're like, really? And they become overwhelmed and excited, and they're happy to do whatever little thing they can. And whether they're initiated, first initiated or second initiated, then there are certain activities that for sure anyone can do, as long as we teach them the basic principles of cleanliness and make sure that when they come into the Pujari department they understand certain activities, but that's part of training, which also needs to be there.
To maintain standards is always a challenge. Why is it a challenge? Well, standards always, they're just like water. Water always finds its lowest point. So standards is the same. You have to keep on reminding, keep on working at standards and keep on trying to improve standards. As soon as you let it go, then the standards will go down. So it's a case of management, it's a case of teaching devotees, being there with devotees, and being sure that new devotees coming into the Pujari department, make sure they're trained very nicely, and make sure they know the standards. This is the main thing they're coming in to learn. What are the standards? What are the standards of cleanliness? What are the standards of punctuality? These 2 things Prabhupada said are the most important, cleanliness and punctuality. So these standards have to be spot on. Of course, cleanliness, I must say, we're always striving for more cleanliness. It's always a challenge. But we have this mood, we're always trying to maintain, that's the main thing. We should be in the mood of trying to maintain the standards, looking and making sure that the standards are not slipping.
I'm doing food transfer to the deities. As soon as food is ready, I took it to the downstairs, and once it's offered to the Lord, then I brought it back upstairs, transfer it to another plate and take it downstairs to give it to the people who attend the aartis and devotees, and meantime I'll come back and clear all the plates and pots, whatever is there, clean it, wipe it, clean it and put it back into the kitchen.
Well, I like doing deity worship very much, and I started in 1980 and then I got initiated 1988, yeah. Yeah, those days the devotees, we had to do a lot. Even the garlands, there were just a few garland makers, and we just 2 garland makers, and we just got on and did everything. And then the transfers as well. Not many people for transfers, so it's mainly the temple devotees, and just a few from outside. It's helped me a lot because I also preach to the others, like the flower market and people at work. I give out a lot of maha. I also give out the books to them.
over the years I've heard so many devotees from around the world who come to London for a short period of time or relocate here, who say that they can't believe how accessible Radha Ishwara are, how they could come and they could just step right in and do service. So it seems in a lot of places maybe there's quite heavy restriction, which I don't know, I don't understand exactly. It's not that we've lowered our standards, because still only Brahmins do Brahmin service, where in many other places it's, even uninitiated devotees may be cooking for or dressing the deities. But we haven't lowered our standards, but we've made it so much more inclusive. And I think the main thing is that it's kind of the mood of the gopis, that we're meant to bring people to the service of Krishna. And maybe sometimes in some places there's a feeling that, one or two people have to control everything and they have to be personally doing and no one else will do it right. Maybe that could be a challenge. But I would say we need to let people know that they can come and they can do service. And we need to try to grow that instead of maintaining this mentality of, say, hypothetically importing people from somewhere else to full-time do the devotional service, that we build the community around the lordships, wherever that may be, whether it's in America or Russia or South America or India, but their lordships stay in the center. And then as a community, we have to take responsibility for looking after them. And it's a wonderful opportunity that blesses us eternally.
Definitely, I would encourage anyone to get involved at the temple, because basically just make the time, just forget everything else, do a little bit for Krishna. Krishna will support you in your other areas of life, and basically the association, the bliss, just feasting, dancing, you can't lose when you come to the temple, basically.
The key benefit of the congregation engaging in deity worship is they will realize a tangible relationship with Sri Sri Radha Ishwara. Our deities are very special. Of course, all deities are very special, but especially Radha Ishwara, very dear to Srila Prabhupada. And it's just very nice to come and take darshan, and very nice to give some donation, as that's all devotional service. But to sacrifice some of our time, and time is very precious. Everyone's very busy. But to sacrifice some time to come in and to render some service to the deities, whether it's making a garland, whether it's cleaning the walls, whether it's cooking an offering, whether small or big, then one will, without a doubt, when they engage in that personal service, the next time they take darshan, they will see Krishna's pleased with them. They will give it factual realization. So it's a means of expressing one's thanks to Krishna. Krishna's given us so much, Krishna's given us everything, so we express that by coming in and engaging in service to Him, loving service. And by doing that, we get the smile of Krishna, and that's the goal of life. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna